brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. The BRVM delivered a clearly positive performance this past week, from Monday, January 19th to Friday, 23rd. Investor confidence returned strongly, and that momentum was visible across the entire market. All the main BRVM indices closed the week higher. The BRVM Composite Index, which represents the overall market, rose by 1.54% to reach 356.33 points. The BRVM 30 Index, which tracks the 30 largest listed companies, also moved higher, gaining 1.32% and closing at 169.33 points. The BRVM Prestige Index, which includes the most solid and liquid companies on the exchange, followed the same trend, increasing by 1.21% to finish at 145.79 points. Why does this matter for you as an investor? Because when all three indices move in the same direction, it means the market strength is broad-based. This is not just one or two stocks moving independently. It reflects a general return of buying interest across multiple sectors. Historically, this type of configuration often lays the foundation for more durable market trends. Another very strong signal this week came from trading activity. Volumes surged sharply. More than 307,170 shares were traded during the week, compared to fewer than 2,000 shares the previous week. That is more than 6 times higher. At the same time, total transaction value increased to approximately 4.77 billion francs CFA. When prices rise and volumes increase together, it usually indicates stronger investor conviction. It suggests that buyers are not hesitating and that liquidity is returning to the market. Let us now turn to the equity market and the top performers of the week. The picture here is very clear. 34 stocks closed higher, while only 10 declined. In other words, the market was broadly oriented toward buying. The best weekly performance came from Bernabe Côte d'Ivoire. The stock recorded a spectacular increase of 24.81%, closing at 1,685 francs CFA. This strong move highlights renewed interest in the distribution sector, which is often seen as a proxy for domestic consumption. For investors, this may signal improving expectations around local economic activity. In second place, Sucre d'Ivoire Côte d'Ivoire gained 17.13%, finishing the week at 1,265 francs CFA. This sharp rise appears largely driven by speculative interest, but also by renewed confidence in turnaround stories with strong upside potential. The third best performance of the week was delivered by Safka Côte d'Ivoire. The stock rose by 16.24% to reach 3,830 francs CFA. This confirms that investor interest was not concentrated in a single sector, but spread across multiple segments of the market. Looking at trading activity, Société Générale Côte d'Ivoire stood out as the most actively traded stock on the exchange. Weekly transactions exceeded 971 million francs CFA, while the stock price also increased by more than 4%. Sonatel Senegal and Bank of Africa, Côte d'Ivoire also recorded strong trading volumes, confirming their role as reference stocks within the regional market. What about the stocks that declined? They were present but limited. Cetao Côte d'Ivoire recorded the largest weekly decline, falling by 5.88% to 1,200 francs CFA. This correction appears to be driven mainly by profit-taking after a rapid price increase in previous weeks. Secor Côte d'Ivoire and Filtisac Côte d'Ivoire followed, with declines of 5.26% and 4.45% respectively. These movements reflect adjustments rather than a negative shift in overall market sentiment. Let us now move to the bond market, often considered a key indicator of medium and long-term investor confidence. Overall bond market capitalization edged slightly lower by 0.07%, reaching approximately 11,360 billion francs CFA. However, this headline figure does not tell the full story. Bond market activity was exceptionally strong. Total bond trading value reached approximately 3.96 billion francs CFA, compared with less than 500 million francs CFA the previous week. This shows that investors were highly active, even though prices themselves remained relatively stable. Most of this activity was concentrated on a sovereign bond with an intermediate maturity. Nearly 200,000 bonds were traded, representing close to 2 billion francs CFA in value. This single bond accounted for almost half of all bond market transactions during the week. What does this tell us? Investors are clearly favoring bonds that offer a balance between yield and visibility. Bonds with maturities such as 8-year or 10-year instruments are particularly attractive, as they provide predictable income while limiting exposure to very long-term uncertainty. In an environment where many investors are seeking portfolio stability, this behavior is highly meaningful. Looking at yields, several bonds on the market continue to offer attractive yields to maturity, often above 7%. For investors seeking regular income in franc CFA, the regional bond market continues to present compelling opportunities, provided that maturity profiles and issuers are carefully selected. So, what does this week tell us overall? First, that the year has started on a constructive note at the BRVM. Indices are rising, volumes are surging, and most stocks are moving higher. Second, that investors are actively positioning across both equities and bonds, signaling a more balanced approach that combines performance seeking with risk management. Now, let us look ahead. The coming week offers several areas of opportunity. Recent data points highlight sectors where investor interest remains strong, as well as attractive entry points in the bond market, particularly on intermediate maturities. However, identifying the best opportunities requires careful analysis and precise timing. This is exactly where Daba Pro adds value. With Daba Pro, investors gain access to in-depth analysis, early identification of opportunities, and structured guidance to make informed decisions with confidence. To access the key opportunities for the week ahead, understand where informed investors are positioning, and optimize your strategy on the BRVM, subscribe to Daba Pro. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back next week with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your App Store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.